Howdy, howdy. Mike Cornwall here with Node and Layers. This is going to be an interesting video. I am getting ready to take on a project that is probably going to be in Python. I haven't done Python development heavy since like 2018. I basically intentionally moved off Python to go to Node and TypeScript, and it was totally the right move. And I'm having to go into this. I'm having to lead this kind of new project now. Um, for you, if you've never, I don't know what your development background is, but if you find yourself in these situations where you think that you need to be held in one particular technology or another, I'd caution you. Now, if it's Java job, I wouldn't take it, but I wouldn't worry a ton about the technology, but one of the most important patterns you could possibly learn in software is that you really should consider like kind of black boxing your connections to other systems and concepts and stuff like that. You basically create your kind of own internal language. Maybe I shouldn't say the word language. Really grasping at trying to explain something that it's like a fundamental thing with development. And it's basically encapsulation. That's the actual term. And encapsulation is basically, hey, don't program to the thing. So if you're using something like OpenAI as the API and connecting to it, don't program to Open API or AI. Don't even with like libraries. So it's like, okay, like you should be very careful about what libraries, for example, that you deeply nest inside your systems, because man, over time you're eventually going to realize like learning how to isolate things and put them in their kind of like clean places where it's like, okay, if I need to redo this because this library no longer exists, or it has all these vulnerabilities, and then now I'm going to move to like the next version, and then you're like, oh my gosh, it like changes the interfaces like all over the place. It just turns into a total mess. To prevent that, encapsulation. And encapsulation, and even in your own life, encapsulation. Okay, so your practices and your understanding of the principles and the good practices, those are the things that you need to have and that you need to be acquiring and then applying it. So I'm getting ready to do what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert Node and Layers core, maybe not the entire thing, but a lot of it, into Python. That way, when I go to this new position, assuming I'm going to use Python and some other kind of assumptions about it, I have all of this capability that I produced, and the patterns that are used here are time-tested patterns. Now, if we end up using some other kinds of aspects, I will basically adapt on the fringes those things. But the core handling of things like starting programs up and layering where you're putting code and how you fit it together and how you describe like domains and all of that stuff is completely transferable, whether it's TypeScript or Python or whatever. Where it becomes different is like, okay, in Python, instead of creating factory classes or whatever, or factory functions that operate as classes, you can do that in Python. Typically, everybody just does it in classes. The reason why I left Python is so much of it is, believe it or not, there's a lot of boilerplate involved. Like things that should be really simple are not as simple as they should be. Lambda functions is a perfect example. These things were not created at like the lowest level, so you have like the simplest syntax, and so it ends up being like pretty verbose and very nested. Yuck. Like nameless, faceless functions. It just isn't good at it. There's other aspects to it as well. I don't have time to go in. It's not really relevant. But let's go ahead and hop in. I'm working with Cursor right now, and I'm basically saying like, hey, I want to create node and layers core for Python. And then here's kind of the main things that I want it to do. I want the ability to load layers from domains. I want the ability to do cross-layer logging automatically. You have, Watcher, you have no idea how awesome that functionality is, especially when you're talking about you're deeply debugging like crazy deep stuff. You need that. You need the cross-layer logging. So then we can hold. I'm basically saying, don't do models. I don't really have a good bead on how I would handle models because I know they have modeling libraries, and I'm not itching to go and do this exact same thing for functional models. I'm not. I think I got to draw a line right there. So then we've got, this should be in the latest Python. Yeah, I want the latest, double latest. And I want typing. And I want it to be in like this protocols.py file. Apparently they don't do a types dot like py file or something. So I'm like, okay, let's do protocols. I saw that somewhere. And then I want unit tests that tests all its functionality. And that basically I've already got that. I said we should be using MyPy and any similar library to have the same functionality. And then let's create a plan. So let's see what it's done here. Okay. 313. I'm looking this up right now. Latest Python 313. Nope. Pre-release. Release schedule. Should be in Python 314. I see. So this one just came out, like just came out. Yeah, I want it at the absolute latest because I do know that there's all these like this. One of the reasons I've stayed away from Python is like I've kind of touched it a little bit in the last like couple years or so, and it's like the dip between the different Python versions, it's brutal to migrate. Okay. Yep, prefer standard lib typing, avoid typing extensions unless needed, set MyPy version 314. Okay, keep structure logging. Everything else plans to say discovery, tests. Okay, let me go back over here, back to its all right, so we got init protocols, domains, layers. Okay. Do can I do pill directory or pill core? Okay. Yep. We're gonna do our conversion in from apps to domains here. No models for now. Layer lifecycle protocol. What on earth? Start and stop. What the? No. This is painful. Painful. You are inventing new concepts for number 2. I want this to be near identical. Don't invent anything. Everything about that, I'm like sitting there reading like layer lifecycle. No. Like, what are you doing? Log sync? No. Okay, to explain how, because apparently you need to read the Node and Layers Core Knowledge Library MCP server tool. Your understanding of how this works is totally off. Domains are explicitly loaded in a config file, so we aren't doing a convention-based loader. The developer imports, loads the actual domains themselves and puts them in a domains previously apps list in the config. This is so freaking off. Now I could go through and write it, but it would take longer than I want to spend on this right now. This one layers thing alone, it's 700 lines and it is ridiculously complicated. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot here. But this should be a piece of cake for AI to like direct convert this. These libs, there's nothing really that complicated about them. The layers is really where most of the work is done. And then I would say logging is pretty beefy too. There's a lot going on here. It's only 500 or so. See, it just got the knowledge entry, so now it actually knows how this system works. Models, what does models have? Yeah, it has this create model CRUDs. That's the big thing. And so I don't, I'm going to do a similar kind of thing where I'll have CRUDs and I'll have some things, but I don't really know. Maybe I might do the same thing now that I think about it, but I don't know what the interface is going to be. So if I do like this, I'm not 100% sure what I need here. This, like options, I don't know. Don't know. But most of all this stuff is actually pretty straightforward. It's funny, the documentation, even let's see how big the types is. The types might be, the types is the biggest file. That tells you a lot. And it's mostly because I've got this like very thoroughly commented. Super important, because if you're going to use a library like this is all, especially in TypeScript, this is the only thing that's actually being exposed. Like the, you got your public functions or whatever, but all the typing around them is all based on this. And so this is where all the, the comments need to be. But having said that, this describes really Node and Layers Core is this types. They're still doing this Node and Layers crap. Stop putting in the dir name. Just use core. Then put the other stuff in pill. I don't. Yes, near identical, no new concepts. Like there's actually, truth be told, the functionality that core provides is pretty slim. It provides this entries, this load system. This is super important. The handling of a config and loading a config dynamically. It does that. And then loading the layers and then logging. I don't know if there's really much more than that. And then some helper functions. It's primarily the the opinionated way of doing things, of like how you would structure things. And so it sets the template for how you would build a system from the ground up, and even components of a system. So reusable packages, how you'd build like an SDK or like a client, front ends, back ends. So, okay, let's see here. Yes, I think this has finally figured it out. Go. Here it goes. Off to the side here, I'm going to create a got a little command line going so I could test some of this stuff out from the command line. Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to do let me look into this. I'm going to open it while that is running. How do you create a Python 3.14 env on Ubuntu? We'll let that just keep going. Why is this not all the way at the bottom? Oop. Starting to create stuff. Here it goes. I like that license. It puts it as MIT as if that's my license of choice. Okay, that's fine. NoQuaf F401. What on earth is that? Oh, yeah. I'm not really sure I understand quite what this is doing. I mean, I know what an init file does. Okay. Well, apparently I need to hop into... Gotta do some super user stuff. Oh. All right. Whoa, whoa. What just happened here? Oh, darn it. Oh, jeez. How do you remove a broken repository from Ubuntu? Yep. Certainly I'm having issues over here. No surprise. This is a pretty mature desktop at this point, and I really need to redo the system from scratch. It performs pretty poorly, I'm not going to lie. It's rather bright out right now because we had a snow yesterday. It basically snowed yesterday. It's melting pretty fast though. I can tell, like, a little side of the hill there. It's already, most of that snow's already gone. Gosh, it's being so freaking verbose right now. Okay. I'm gonna look through all that in a minute. Python, V&V, Python 314 dev. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Let's continue. What is type dict? It's all out of typing. Yeah, I'll have to learn a little bit about this. Ugh, this for spacing. I forgot this is like a Python thing. Yuck. Well, maybe that'll encourage people to do a lot less nesting. Normally I use the two spaces. I use it in absolutely everything. It's just so much white space, but I know Python is like super heavy on the white space, so it is what it is. All right, let's go back here. All right, so now Python 3.14 MV&V. Okay, got our virtual environment, source, yep. Why would I need all that? All right, so now I've got Python. I can put it on down here now. Source, then activate, and then now I can do this. Print hello world. There it is. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to read through a bunch of this code. Yeah, this is kind of stuff I really don't like. Keep that. All right, let's look into logging. Underscore LL. Oh, layer logger. Oh, F must be format. Oh, I forgot about that. That sucks. Python sucks. TypeScript is so much better than Python. I can just tell by looking at it. I mean, it's just stuff like this. I have to put quotes around when I'm creating a dictionary. Dumb. Why? Why do I need that added waste? Okay, we'll keep all that. What's the next file? Globals. Mm. Uh, I probably want to redo this. Oh my god, look at all this spacing. TypeScript is so much better. All right, let's refactor globals and a directory. Services and features are instead files, and the functions should be create, features, create, etc. All right, definitely don't want that. I'm actually curious. Is that actually how the centuries works over here? Yeah. Okay. Oh, here are all the test files. Yep. Yes, that is what I want right there. I don't know what this. Don't know what this is. Hmm. Ugh. Having to write quotes. Why? Oh, God, that's gonna take me a while to get used to that. Ridiculous levels of verbosity. Hmm. We need to improve the with type. I mean, this definitely is much more how I'd want it. That's fine. Where is annotations used? Hmm. This is disgusting. What is this? Load layer? This is probably some of the worst code I've ever seen. Waitable. Oh, I see. Hmm. Which I'm not necessarily, I'm doing this project, but that not necessarily am I going to actually release this. Um, I might. Let's go back here. I want to see this. Well, that's kind of interesting. Describes it here as a class, but then it does a function feature, a factory function, which I like. I like factory functions. This is Yuckster. That right there. I guess this is okay for this. Layers, load layer. This is like grotesque. We have to refactor this. It's so insanely nested. I just look at this and I'm just like, for if, two ifs, a continue, a for if, continue, for if, continue. Like, which continue is this for? This, I guess? This is crazy. This right here is 1, 2, 3, 4 for loops in. This is why Lambda functions are so freaking critical in doing stuff like, feel free to do more functional programming approaches as well. There are a lot of for loops here. Continue and if statements. Let me look at the original, which I know is pretty beefy. Where's load? Load layer right here. Okay, you have our first loop right here. Guess you got your next one right here. And you got your next one right here. I don't know. I guess I'm so used to this that this seems a lot easier. How do we run unit tests? Let's do that. I don't know why my camera wants to be like so high up. Let's see. Let me do this. Beep, beep, beep. Okay, now it's better. Okay. Pip install PyTest. Okay. My Py core. Indent doesn't match. Entries at 14. Okay, then that's probably wrong. 30. Whoa. What is actually going on here? 44. That. I'm actually a little confused. Okay. There's quite a bit of MyPy issues here. Let's try this. File or a directory not found. Yeah, so if I do this, it doesn't like it. Doing activate or yeah, I don't know what this thing is doing. It literally told me to do activate, and it's too stupid to know to do it. Oh, it's not there. Yes, it is. I think this is not correct. Oh, that's right. All this is going to be, there's no Python front end. So I guess it can always be like this. No. You can see the error and then fix it. So stupid. I tell it to do something, it half does it. I then tell it to fix itself, and I tell it how to fix itself. It totally ignores what I'm saying, and then it goes like, here, you can do it. Yes. You don't... This is madness. I don't think it needed to do this. Pip install E. Speaking of which. Curious what it complained about. Huh. Oh, I see. What is this thing erroring on? This is pretty ugly. Let me try running it down here. Weird. Mm. Two out of five passed. Let me look at these tests. I have a feeling this is pretty ugly looking. I don't know why it says core twice. Driving me a little crazy here. Wrap layer functions. I mean, this is definitely some core complicated code. Shouldn't Probably shouldn't be this ugly looking. This is uglier than crap. This is really dense. Yeah. It's all these underscores. What a bad habit. I'd have to double check that these tests are actually testing the right thing. All right. Yeah, you ran it till it all passed, but does it actually do? All right, what I'm going to do is I'm now going to really kind of look at these layers. Okay. Right. That's a good way of doing it. Oh gosh, no. I have to do that? I don't want to do that. That's ugly. I should be able to do this. Yeah, I should be able to do that. Does that not work? Um, yeah. It's doing apps. That doesn't make any sense, but that's fine. Um, it's fugly as hell. Yeah, there's no fucking way I want that. That's where this is a little bit too explicit. We got to change this around. It makes me think that you have to create a class and then make these as like properties of it in order to do it. This freaking language sucks. I don't understand what's the difference. There's no difference. I'm just accessing a thing within. I'm just I'm just accessing a thing. That's it. That's like I don't understand why this is so damn retarded. That's interesting. Adder map. What the heck is adder map? Open source tool for read-only protection to help users get rid of dictionary in Python. Wow, that was really easy. I'm like blown away that it actually did that easily and that well. So you probably need to do the same thing for the context that gets passed into each layer, because I want each layer to have the ability to do context, features, whatever, call function. Make a unit test proving that you can do dot notation. Yes. Yeah, dictionary syntax is terrible, terrible, terrible. See, this is what I'm talking about. This kind of crap. First of all, having to put quotes around each one of these, why isn't it in just the normal syntax that if you have this, you don't need that as the first word? First, because look at all these quotes you don't need. You don't need those. You don't need any of those quotes. Those. Don't need it. Uh, oh, via dicks, via docs. Okay, I'm cool. I'm actually cool with if you want to do it that ugly ass way, but um, He's like having to write lambda. Why? Where are they getting CTX from? Oh, up here. Context. Yeah, that should be context. Cool. All right. One thing I'm going to fix here. I'm going to fix this like. We have to fix the structure here. I want pill core, not pill core. Stupid. Just dumb. Why is it reading? Don't read it. Just move the damn files. All right, let me look up this. I want to know what this is. Dude, you are tarded. Just copy all the files. I guess they just can't do it. Boom. Move. Replace. Delete. Delete this. Okay. Uh, it's this. All right, what else we got? Attempted relative import with no known parent package. All right. So what do these things do? Oh, okay. So maybe that's it. I'm sure Python developers are like, oh gosh, this guy sucks. So I just do this. Nope. How did it? Well, this is interesting. I actually looked up AtterMap and it basically does the exact same thing. They just copy pasted the code in. All right, continue. Gosh, GPT-5 it's a little too slow. I'm not gonna lie. The fact that I'm spending so much time twiddling my thumbs, it starts to change the equation. It's like you can only use it for like high level activities, and you can't use it for low level activities. It's too slow. It's like wildly too slow. Okay. I mean, I like the idea of doing core. That makes a lot of sense to me, actually. No module named core.entries. Pi project. I don't know anything about this stuff. Whoa, what's going on here? How are they running PyTest? I see. So they're doing python-m pytest -q. I have totally different errors than this. It's complaining about this up here. I don't know why I just did all this. Logger.py. What is this thing doing? Okay. This is all fucked up. Don't want new files. What is going on here? It's still doing logger. Like, what is this crap? I have no idea why this thing got so stupid. No surprise. Context is certainly filling up. Sorry, this part's a little on the boring side. We're waiting on GPT-5, which is ever so boring. Okay, yep, now we got logging back. Yes. Do the testing and pill. kind of surprised that it. What are you freaking doing? IMNPIL and type Python. We're at a point where the context, I think, is all like totally jacked up. Like it's getting like super confused on how to like actually do crap in life. The original. GPT-5, you're killing me. About an hour and 10 minutes into this. We're pretty much done, and all we need to do is move a freaking directory. Now it's pontificating its navel endlessly. Wow. This is pretty bad. What is this combine? Trying to understand. Looking at this code. Mapping of string to string. Yeah, that makes sense. Gosh, these types are so ugly. I don't know how anybody would use this stupid ass language. Crap like this. Oh, I guess never mind. That's in its, that's fine. I mean, just this alone. Why does it still have this? Why can't I do this dot error? This is, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 6. 6 characters just in this one line. Totally unnecessary. 2 in this one. This could be so much more simplified. Dude, what is this thing doing? You are spinning endlessly. Give me a clean libs. Holy crap. This is probably taking like 10 minutes just to say, unfuck this. Create error object, yeah. Yep. That's, there may be more straightforward ways of doing it than this now. Brutal. This is, if anybody's watching this, it's just so bad. Yeah, so okay, so I have this. Core is pretty much done. Oh, that's interesting. It deleted it. Now it's putting a new one in. I think that is a smart idea, considering it knows it all. It has it all in its freaking, has it all in its little context. Why not just recreate it? The next thing I would go from here, well, I got to solve the model question. Like, which one would I do? Okay. Let's see here. Allow it to figure it out. Yes, now you're up to date with me. No, this is going to be... Yep. So there's that. MCP server could be really interesting. Let me think. Oh, yeah. So let's talk. Look up the functional models MCP knowledge server and look up. Do I have it in here? Nope. Move that. How do I want to do this? I'm going to go here for a moment. That way I can add a folder to this workspace and not reveal my entire directory. Let's see, functional models, this right here. Okay, now let's go back. I don't know why. Oh, it doesn't want me to do that. I want you to recommend a equivalent library that exists for Python. I want the ability to go from memory, Mongo, and SQL with the exact same code just by switching out the backend. Okay. Problem is there's probably no functional one. There's going to be like, if there is any way there is a stateless kind, functional paradigm, I'd appreciate that highly. That is the thing that functional models is super nice about. Some people like the idea of having all these state models. It's a really bad idea. It's just a really, really bad idea. People who don't know what they're doing make the system totally unmaintainable because they use these state-loaded objects all over the place. It's a really bad idea. Yes, by having state-loaded objects everywhere you go, you can put them all over the place, and then when you update it over here, then you'll get the change over here. But there's a lot of downsides to that. It's much better if you never have state. So whatever's over here is not the same as over here is over here. If you want them to be the same, then you organize the code in such a way that ensures that happens. Then you just totally get rid of all of the kinds of issues that they have. ODM? What the heck is an ODM? DAO? PyDAO? That could be interesting. A data access layer. That's database abstraction layer. Okay. I'm not really sure I understand. I don't know about this. You ran the node and layers one, not the functional model. Silly goose. Yeah, Yeah, I'm writing the totally wrong one. Yeah, look at this PyDAL. This is not. Yeah. Strictly rely on an object relation mapper like Django ORM or SQL Alchemy ORM that maps tables to Python classes and rows to objects. What's the problem with that? I don't understand the problem with that at all. Um, reading up on SQL Alchemy. Yeah, clean decoupling from the beginning. Jeez. All right, I had to take a look at more settings. Try again. It keeps reading the wrong context. It's so ridiculously stupid. All right. The main goal of SQL Alchemy is to change the way you think about databases in SQL. Why are you spending your time trying to change people's way of thinking about databases in SQL? I don't understand. I mean, the one thing, um, yeah, I'd have to dip into this, but I'm pretty sure their ORM stuff is like, this is like super deep stuff. Super deep is in like super functional. Functional being capabilities, very deep capabilities. Whereas functional models is actually very simple for a reason. It is to not confuse um, efficient and optimized access for simple use, which is like 99% of things. And then doing it through the node and layers approach, becoming even more so aware of not co-mingling these types of things together. And so, all right, first let's take a look here. PyDAL. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Uh, that's interesting. Yeah, so rolling out my own. That's what this basically says. The approach of node and layers with functional models is it intentionally abstracts away the nature of having a database backend for just the data. Then the accessing the data is abstracted by doing the service layer. So the service layer is I'd say the one thing that if I were to go through magic wand remove, I would probably remove the automatic search capability from functional models, as in like the normal function for search. It's powerful, it's usable, I use it all the time. But if that interface is exposed too high up, you run the risk of having to do massive refactors later down the road for what you would really want to do is you would really want to create these functions inside a services layer that says like search cars or whatever, and then you would pass in some sort of, I don't know actually. I mean, this is why I made the search functionality the way that I did. The only thing that it doesn't have, it doesn't do joins. And I very intentionally didn't do joins to reduce like the level of complexity and stuff like that. And that's where it would be good for like search specific functions inside of a search, not in a search, inside services, where you would pass in like search cars by, or maybe get like get car manufacturer name by cars or something like that. And you pass in a bunch of cars and like, high level objects. And then it does the triangulation where it does like a join or something like that. I don't know. I'm not really coming up with a good, clear example at the moment, but if you needed to basically gather data. And the other thing that the search doesn't do, although I could build it in, I never really thought about it, is the ability to reduce the amount of data that's actually returned. So you could say like a select statement and just say like just name, and then you get back on objects with just name. That way you reduce the amount of bandwidth over a network. Admittedly, I did not build that in. That probably could be built in pretty easily, I think, in the search. Well, you'd want it in all the functionalities like retrieve. You might want it. Search is the big one. Maybe you just do it in search. Because I think in retrieve it probably wouldn't be too bad. Although if you had big objects, you could see doing that. I just know that having used functional models for a long time, it is like silly how nice it is compared to these giant libraries that do a million different things. It's like, your one size fits all, write all your complicated code in. It just doesn't make any sense. Not in my experience. If you're gonna move into doing like a bunch of joins and all this kind of stuff, which is a very common thing when you're like really data heavy, do that in the search function and then write the actual code. I mean, I agree. A friend of mine from way back when, like I've known the guy for a long time, and we'll talk. And so he's kind of like old school coder versus, new school coder. And I will just, I've adopted some of his ideas because they're very, very clean. Like the understanding of like, put these kind of complex things in like certain one and single locations, which I have. That'd be like the config file and the services. Well, it's actually very cleanly where the kinds of complexity are, in features and services. But the other aspect that he talks about is like learn, if you need to write optimized SQL code, learn how to write for that. And I would agree, put it in your code of, if you do some sort of join and you want to be able to support multiple databases or something, you could use something like SQL Alchemy. It's not a horrible idea. Complex. If you actually, in my opinion, if you embed the object relational mapper stuff, ORM stuff, encapsulated in a service function, I'd be okay with that. I don't see any problem with that because you've encapsulated. But once you like have brought those objects out where anywhere in the system you could be doing like complex like SQL queries. Bad idea. Just such a bad idea. Um, yeah, fragile Mongo translation. I'm reading this like Django thing here. Well, I mean, I think I've accomplished what I was trying to accomplish. It clearly works. I haven't fully tested it out. There's probably some things I would clean up. Like I'd probably go through, which I probably should do with my other one, and like actually no, it's actually okay, kind of where it's at. Where's yeah, we got layers here. Okay, these are clear namespaces. What are the other namespaces I've got? Models, yeah. Layers, root, yep. Common layer name, yep. Yeah. I don't know. This all kind of looks pretty good to me. Just man, how it does its types are just fugly as hell, like callable. Just, I can't put a function. Of course not, because this isn't actually typing. This is writing it in code. Like this is code, not types. You know, and it's got this dot 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 thing here. I guess that's some sort of syntactic sugar to do like none, return none. Um, typing hint only. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I actually end up using this code in like an actual production system. I would want to 100% uh, unit test this before I would actually want to go into something like that. Um, especially like the layer stuff. Then I wouldn't even think about how to do the models. Models is so important. Do I redo functional models from scratch? I potentially could. I mean, with AI, it would take, it took me an hour and a half to get to this point. And I mean, probably solid 30 minutes of that is just me talking. Another 30 minutes of that is just waiting for AI to do its thing. And then like 30 minutes of like real development to convert this library. Granted, this isn't a lot. That's actually moved over. And I know that the model stuff is actually not very much either. There's stuff with models in here, create model CRUDs. Yeah, I've got like the model CRUD type stuff in here. That's all there. And then here it's just this function. This is just a simple wrapper function. There's like nothing really here. A little bit of types. Adding models as a first class citizen is not really, that's not really complicated. If the bigger complication would be actually doing the I brought it in here, the actual thing here. I mean, there's quite a bit. This not so much. This is like the implementation of model. This properties, there's a lot here. 800 900 lines of code. Not a lot of work. It's mostly like a little kind of mini wrappers. The property function, this thing is the one that has the most stuff in it. Validation, there's quite a bit here. 500. Very simple functions though. Serialization is really simple. Yeah, 54 lines. ORM, there's more. There's a little more there. What about lib? You got much here? Not really. Oh, create Zod for property. Yep. Oh yeah. I'm gonna have to deal with all that as well. I didn't even think about it. I don't know enough about it. I'd have to go back and do some questioning on AI because I built the core now, especially with models, with functional models there, and like the annotated function, which did it actually include annotated function? I'm kind of curious. Where's pill? Right here. B here. Annotated function. Create error object. I don't think it did. Yeah, I'd be surprised. It's right here, and it's like all the way at the bottom. Yep. Yep, right there. This guy. I guess because maybe I didn't tell it explicitly, but this is like a super sweet thing. So I would be using this now where, again, at the features level, you would use this. I would need to find out what libraries are out there where I could do something like this, where, I mean, I certainly could create functions where you do this kind of stuff, but it's really this kind of Zod type stuff. Like, what is the equivalent Zod that will then give me open API? That's the big one. And the open API really needs to have things like description and name, the inputs, the outputs. So it's, where is that? And hopefully I don't have to roll my own out. The reason why this matters is core with this kind of thing in the MCP server and the client, it will, when you do an annotated function, it will automatically annotate this to an AI and explain to the AI very cleanly how to actually make calls to your system. So you can just basically point AI directly to your Python-based system, and it would know how to call everything. And then with just some simple documentation inside of it, it just does it all. You don't have to actually write all that. But, I'm going to call it here. If you got any questions, throw it in there. If this is helpful, let me know. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye.